Hello everybody and welcome back to Chaos Head. So this episode is also going to be a little bit on the shorter side because I'm trying to get a little bit ahead on recordings if at all possible. So this one will also be around about 30 minutes. So, uh, as was my habit, I organized the things I didn't know by making a bullet point list of them in my head. I considered tacking on I myself as the last item, but I stopped. It was perfectly normal. My surroundings were aberrant. Yeah, sure. Uh, that'd be obvious to anyone. Was Fess my ally or my enemy? That was all I really needed to find out, but I wasn't brave enough to talk to her. Today I went to Animate without stopping by at Cafe. The reason, of course, was to pick up my long-awaited Baracha Serum post-awakening version. While I was buying it, Yua's face briefly flitted across the back of my mind, but I soon forced that train of thought to a stop. I took a look at Sarah, I took a look at the Sarahs put out on display to catch customers' eyes, but since the sculptor was Kijima Yoshio, nothing indeed needed to be said about the quality. I better hurry home and savor every nook and cranny of her. As long as I could gaze at Sarah's face every so often while playing ESO, I was happy. Despite that, why did the third dimension have to keep bringing me nothing but burdens? It was the same now. As I forgot all about Fess and her sword and headed off for my base with a new spring in my step. When I had about 50 meters to go, I encountered two men who possessed an undeniably out of the ordinary air about them. I thought I could pass them without meeting their eyes, but they were blatantly watching me.
そこの君、ちょっといいかい？
Out of the two, the first to call out to me was a bleary looking geezer who wouldn't have seemed out of place gambling on a racetrack. His hair was messy, his face was unshaven, and his clothes were a wrinkled suit. A sloppily tied necktie, and shoes without any traces of polish on them, the very picture of a man who had failed to get ahead in life. Somehow, the fact that he was flapping a handheld fan at himself only served to emphasize his wretchedness. His expression, too, was melancholic. He put on a flippant smile. But his eyes, which met mine for the barest second, weren't laughing. I had nowhere to run to. While I wavered about how to answer him, the two of them came walking right up to me.
おじさん、こういうものなんだけどさ。
The geezer took a black folding badge out of his breast pocket and held it out to me. It was a type of police ID I'd often seen in TV dramas, although it was, of course, the first time I'd laid eyes on one in real life. They had finally come. I could only think of one reason: the staking.
ちょっと話を聞かせてもらっていいかい？もちろん強制じゃないんだけどね。あ、いやいや、そんな身構えなくていいよ。ほんと、話聞くだけだから。
There was zero pressure present in his manner of speaking, except the other, younger detective wore a severe expression as he casually changed his position to block my path. I started sweating. If I did anything stupid, they might start suspecting me of being the perpetrator and haul me off to the police station. I couldn't let that happen. I resigned myself to my fate and gave a small nod.
君さ、俗に言うニュージェネレーションの狂気って知ってるかな？
As I thought. Wiping the sweat off my forehead, I nodded back at him.
じゃあ、3番目に起きた通称貼り付け殺人事件も当然知ってるよね。この近所で起きたわけなんだけども、その目撃者を探してるわけよ。あ、ちなみに君、名前聞かせてくれる？
I couldn't help sucking in her breath. This wasn't. This wasn't Zhunge Liang's trap, was it? And I guarantee I mispronounced the first part. Or maybe they were a group of con men who'd act like policemen while talking to me when really they were going to extract my personal information and put it to ill use, or else underlings of the demon girl herself.
あれ、答えてくんないのかな？
once they started doubting me, there'd be no end to it. What should I do? If I answer with a false name, that alone might give them sufficient grounds to arrest me.
ああ、個人情報保護法とか気にしてる？おじさんそんなに信用なさそうに見えるかな。
Yes, very much so. Yeah, you do. Anyhow, his amiable manner of talking was surely just an act.
西条匠
In the end, I couldn't think of anything to do and had no choice but to answer honestly.
うん。西条匠くんでいいかい？
I nodded.
本当に？
Huh? What did you mean by really? What was with that reaction when I'd been good enough to answer truthfully?
いや、これは失礼。今のは気にしないでくれ。
The detective's deliberate-sounding laugh echoed through the quiet residential area. Ugh, I wanted them to be quicker about releasing me.
その制服、水明だよね。何年生？
Did I have to answer that kind of thing, too?
に
悪いね。聞き取れなかった。おじさん、もう年だから耳遠くてさ。もう一度言ってくれる？
2年生
ああ、2年生ね。どうも。で、西条さん。聞きたいことってのは、先月の29日の午後6時から10時頃にかけて、どこで何してたかなんだわ。
Were they asking for my alibi? Could it be that they suspected me? But that was absurd.
いや、別に君を疑ってるわけじゃなくてさ。その時間にこの近くにいたなら、怪しい人物を見かけたとか、何か音を聞いたとか、ないかと思ってね。
And that's exactly what you'd say to somebody who is a suspect. Somehow, listening to this detective talk really got me irritated. Maybe speaking in such a way as to purposely anger the subject was a kind of interrogation technique. But I'd seen a suspicious person with my own eyes, distinctly. I vacillated about whether it was okay to tell that to this sketchy-seeming old fogey. What would I do if I told him and the demon girl came to retaliate? Right now, it seemed like she was letting me slip away, but she had the precog Shogun as one of her toadies. She herself must be able to use some sort of unbelievable power as well. That might truly be the case. If so, if I were going to speak about the demon girl to the police, she might have already found out by using her sixth sense or something, and then maybe she would come to kill me.
なあ、西条くん。今日はそんなに暑いか？
When they said this, my heart rate jumped. If I didn't say anything more, they'd definitely think I was the criminal. But I was scared that even if I lied by saying I didn't see anything, they would know I was faking it. The older man used the fan he was carrying to fan the side of my face for me. A cool breeze stirred my hair.
もうすっかり秋だ。汗かくほど暑いとは思えんけどな。まあ、体質ってのは人それぞれだしな。
I didn't exactly want to hear that from a guy who walked around with a fan in this season, but admittedly it wasn't particularly hot today. The temperature was just at the right level for comfort. I wiped my sweat off again and again with the sleeves of my uniform.
僕はやってない
おー。
The color in the detective's eyes changed. I realized I must have said the wrong thing, but I didn't understand what part of it had been the wrong thing in the first place.
何をやっていないんだ？
They totally suspected me. My only option was to answer truthfully. Staring down at the manhole that happened to be located right at my feet, I shouted.
見たんです貼り付けの現場そこに女がいたんですで血まみれにして死体の前に杭がたくさん死体に突き刺さっててあれ500本は絶対超えてた異常だ死体がハリネズミみたいになってて女は僕を見てよかったって笑ってたあの女は悪魔だ人間じゃないニュージェネの母には人を超えた存在なんだ 4時とかすごい超能力とか使う。
When I'd said that much, I realized the two detectives were staring at me blankly. Maybe they didn't believe me. I shut up again as the thought occurred to me.
悪魔か。なるほどね。そいつは参考になったよ。
本当です。
ああ、わかってるわかってる。貴重な情報だよ。
僕を警察で守ってください。
その前に、その女の年はわかる。服装とか顔の特徴とか。
水明。
水明って水明学園？
その制服着てた。
つまり西条君と同じ学校の生徒か。
After lapsing into thought for some time, the old man grinned, and then muttered something that could have been either a real question or a rhetorical one.
何年生だろうな、その女子高生は。何年生だと思う？西条君。
わからない。
じゃあ、なんて名前だと思う？
わからないよ。僕はあの悪魔の名前なんて知らない。
その女の身長、体重、あとついでに3サイズについては。
What was up with this geezer? Was he mocking me? How could I possibly even know one of those? I don't have a moronic love comedy manga-esque power like being able to tell someone's height and weight in 3 sizes from a single look.
なるほど。黙ってるってことはわからないってことだね。結構。参考になったよ。これは本部に戻って検討しないといかんな。
I'm pretty sure we saw that she did have pink hair, though. So, I mean, of course, there's obviously a difference between us, the players, and what we know, and what characters in the setting know, or characters in the story rather know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw enough to be able to say, well, they got pink hair. Don't know for certain if our main character here actually saw that bit, or if it's just a case of, that's a detail his mind has forgotten as an attempt to try and forget the whole incident in the first place.
先輩、マジっすか?
Lifting a hand to silence the dumbfounded younger detective, the older one gave him some kind of sign with his eyes.
西条君、ちなみに連絡先とか教えてもらえる？
なんで？
I live on the shipping container on top of a building. Just find that and you'll find us. They didn't believe me after all. They wanted to label me a deviant and set me up as the criminal.
ああ、だって悪魔だっけ？そいつから君を守らなくちゃならないだろ？
Yeah, but what do you know about protecting people from demons? Let's be real here. Oh, I get it. Thank God they believed me. There'd be nothing more comforting than having the police looking out for me. Of course, our opponent was a demon, so maybe even the police could get felled with a single blow, but it was better than being completely unarmed. A tiny bit relieved, I took out the cell phone I had bought the other day and showed its number to the detectives. The younger detective wrote it down in his notebook.
忙しいところありがとうさ。君の身の安全は警察が保証するから、何の心配もしなさんな。
And again, we did not buy the phone ourselves. It was thrust upon us by our family. Well, particularly our younger sister.
じゃあ、また何か聞きたいことができたら電話するかもしんないんで、その時はよろしくね。イルスとか使わないでくれよ。今のところ警察にとっては君は重要な人物だからな。
Now, we just may never answer the phone in the first place, so, we may not be pretending that we're not there when you call. We legitimately just don't realize that the phone's ringing. because we may have it silenced. Like I do, 99% of the time.
え、
君の目撃証言は事件解決の重要な手がかりになりそうだ。
And we might be the kind of person who just doesn't answer the phone if it's a number we do not know. Which, again, is just like me, 99.99% of the times.
じゃあな。
The two detectives bowed their heads to me and swiftly walked away. After turning back to glance at me, the younger detective began saying something to the older one in lowered tones. The older one kept walking without responding to him. I took deep breaths. I'd been so nervous. It was my first time being questioned by real detectives. I'd acted pretty suspiciously, but somehow they'd believed me. Maybe. I'd been wondering if the police caught the demon girl. But the police were basically powerless, so it might not be a good idea to expect too much from them. Noticing that the inside of my mouth had become desert dry before I knew it, I bought a plastic bottle of Coke from a nearby vending machine.
まあ、四つん這いエロすぎ。後ろから見たらパンツ丸出しじゃんか。だがそれがいい。てらエロ顔。やっぱこの泣きそうっつうか行きそうにしか見えない顔が木島義雄のいいとこだよな。マジで木島 GJ。
I don't know if your face should look the same in any way of about to cry or about to come. I'm being honest here.
半脱ぎ下手に隠してる方がエロいし、この左手の位置とかやばすぎ。上着キャストオフとか、この角度からじゃほとんど全裸にしか見えんひょー。髪の動きがいいよな。覚醒バージョンは髪が命って持論があるわけだが、間違ってなかったな。さて、それではお待ちかね、パンツいってみようか。どれどれ。V ゾーンの作り込みいいよ。シワの付き方リアルだしって。これスージーさんすげえマジですげえクオリティ高し。これセーラタン5作目にして早くも最高傑作爆誕じゃねえ。これ以上すごいのなんて出せないってマジで。やっぱ木島は神。
I carefully placed the new Sarah next to my PC monitor. You're so sexy, Sarah. Simply looking at her made me grin uncontrollably. This truly was a moment of supreme bliss. I got right down to posting my impressions of the Sarah figure at one of the @channel figure threads. After having done so, I checked my email and whether or not any of my friends in Furapara had made updates.
おっと、前触れ申請来てるじゃん。
Ruh-roh, friend request.
誰これ？セーラコミュの人か。はいはい、ゲイですよ。
For the second I thought, all right, about time to start ESO. I sensed a prickling at the back of my neck. It was the gaze, with its usual intense presence. Whose eyes are those? Shit. What a pain in the ass. We did a green choice last time, and generally I've just sort of been switching between the two, especially because I don't have my dice or a coin that I can flip right now. So we'll just go to red now. When was it that I'd first begun to sense this gaze? I'd long since forgotten completely. It interfered with me at every little turn. There were a lot of different elements that kept disrupting my uneventful life, but this gaze was right up on Nanami's level in terms of being a horrendous bother. Fine. Then maybe I'll play along. The "it'll take more than that to make me turn around" game. Still facing my PC, I tried to come up with the kind of lines you'd find in a manga.
貴様、出てこい。僕の目をごまかせるとでも思ったか。甘いな。
Blinding white light.
バレちゃった。
当たり前だ。僕の後ろに立つなと何度言えば。
Eh? Had I heard a female voice just now? Goosebumps sprang up all over me. Did this mean the previously unseen owner of the gaze had appeared at last? Was that even possible? Should I turn around and see who it was? But what if she attacked me the second I turned around? It had been a rather cutesy voice, but what if a monster, far removed from anything I might recognize as human, was standing there? No. If that were the case, she might be readying herself to attack me at this very moment. If I didn't turn around, maybe I wouldn't even notice when she killed me. Perhaps I should say something again to see if there was a response. The voice I had heard earlier may have been an auditory hallucination or one of my delusions. I mean, I always talked on and on with my Sarah figure in my head. It was the same as that. I started to take the plunge and ask, "Who are you?" but I soon ran into hesitation. It might be bad if I provoked her. It couldn't turn into the trigger that made her come attack me. I envisioned so many different possibilities that I found myself unable to move. What to do? Perhaps I was currently in a terribly foolish situation. It would be way too dumb if the owner of the gaze wasn't really there, and the truth of the whole matter was that I'd been sitting in my chair all this time, trembling in terror of my delusions.
あれ、タク？固まってる？
It wasn't an auditory hallucination or a delusion after all. There was someone behind me. Startled, I reflexively turned around. Ruh-roh.
どうもどうも。
The demon girl. The girl sitting on the sofa was undeniably the one I had met at the scene of the staking. For some reason, she was looking at me with a grin. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. She'd finally come to kill me. It had to be because I told the police the facts. She'd seen me do it with her second sight. And so she'd entered this room soundlessly, and she'd established herself in a position from which she could kill me at any time, and she decided to gaze upon me as I wept and screamed in fear. That had to be it. Don't kill me, I tried to scream, but my excess of terror made it hard for my voice to come out.
コンビーフ？
Craning her neck, the demon girl let forth the words of some mysterious spell. She was cursing me or something. It must be black magic. In hopes of opening even a little distance between me and her, I decided to flee beneath my computer desk, but I was so shaken that I hit my head on the edge of the desk and curled up in pain on the spot.
何やってるの、タク？今すっごい音したよ。コツンって。
The demon girl still didn't lose her amused-seeming smile, but it was surely a trap to lull me into a false sense of security. The moment I relaxed, she'd home in for the killing blow, or else maybe she had already placed a curse on me with the magical words she'd used before. Yes, the magical words. Corned beef. Or whatever it was. Oh, corned beef. Whatever. A few days later, I might suddenly die by bursting all over with blood spurting from my body.
頼むよ。殺さないで。
I cradled my head and splayed myself out on the floor. I detested the two detectives who had appeared before me with every fiber of my being.
警察に喋ったこと謝るから。
警察？
それに話してもちっとも信じてもらえてなかったし。
It was a lie to help myself, or to buy myself some time. The older detective from before had told me that he would guarantee my safety. If he were doing his work properly, he must have sent at least one officer over to keep an eye on my place. Having thought that far, I gulped. I'd given that old guy my phone number, but I hadn't given him my address.
ビシッ。
The demon girl suddenly snapped into a salute-like pose, and bizarrely enough, she muttered something resembling a sound effect for it of her own accord. Was this too a devil's curse?
独り言はやめるべし。殺さないでとか、警察がどうとか、私には何のことかさっぱりだよ。
In the dark, she says? Did she intend to play dumb? Or was she silently pressuring me with, forget everything you saw, act as if nothing ever happened? This girl. What the hell was she thinking? Hadn't she come to kill me?
ほら、立てる？立とう。
Rising from the couch, the demon extended a hand to me. Her expression seemed extraordinarily gentle. Plus, when I saw her this close up, she was pretty cute. Shit, I was turning into a total idiot here. Thinking a demon looked pretty cute? What the fuck? She was a murderer. She'd used Yua and Shogun in her attempt to entrap me. Now she'd come to kill me in person. Don't believe her. I'd already learned my lesson from what had happened with Yua. I'd never make the same mistake again. That was why I didn't take her proffered hand. Don't be deceived by this demon girl's smile. This was a temptation of a devil. Of a devil. If I gave in to temptation, I'd die. Don't believe in anything. Don't believe in anything anyone says.
だって見たんだ。お前が人を殺してるとこ。
Now, technically speaking, we don't know if she's the one who killed the person. Technically speaking. We only know that she was there, and she was covered in blood. For all we know, she was trying to yank the stakes out of the body. That way, you wouldn't have a body staked to a wall. Technically speaking, we don't know if she's the one who killed him.
あのさ、タク。それ、かなりひどいこと言ってるって気づいてる？まさか殺人犯呼ばわりされるなんてね。たはは。
What's with the ta ha ha? What did she intend to do with me?
ニュージェネの
Would I, in the same way as that guy in the fourth case,
殺すんでしょう。それとも岩とか将軍とかがいる場所に連れてって。
ユア？将軍？誰それ？
maybe the three of them felt like banding together to get rid of me in a group lynching.
そんなのやだ。助けて。
じゃあね、私を殺人犯扱いしなければ助けてあげる。
So that's how it really is.
そんなビビらないでよ。いちいち私がへこむようなリアクションしてくれるよね。
お願いだ。もう二度と誰にも喋らないから。だから見逃して。
もしもーし。タク、ちょっと落ち着こう。
Bitch calling me Taku all friendly like. Come to think of it, how'd she know my name? She knowed my name even when we met for the first time at the staking crime scene. Why? And how had she known where my base was?
当然でしょ。あなたの名前を知ってるのは。
Had she read my mind? Like I thought. She was clairvoyant. She'd known my name and my address too because she'd used her power on me.
タクって結構独り言多いよね。前から思ってたことだけど。
For a while? Since when? Speaking of which, had I been talking to myself just now? I myself had absolutely no awareness of it. Really? Had I really, truly been talking to myself? What were the chances that she was lying to me? Or that she'd read my mind?
タクの名前を知らないわけないよ。私、物覚えはそんなに良くない方だけど。友達の名前くらい覚えるよ。
friend.
それともタク、私のことバカにしてる？そりゃ私、テストの点数はそんなに良くないけど、面と向かってそういうこと言われると傷ついちゃうな。
Was someone here weird in the head? Who? Me? This girl?
もしかして転校生？
そういえば近いうちに転校生が来るらしいよ。スカチン先生が言ってた。
The two halves of our conversation didn't match up. My previous fear, mixed with the strain of having no idea of when I might suddenly get killed, was starting to fade. But in exchange came a different variety of dread, gnawing its way into my heart and making me go cold.
もしもし、その顔はまさか。 まだ信じてくれてない？
誰だ？
Who are you? She was a murderer. A demon girl.
タクこそクラスメートの顔を覚えてないんだ。ひどー。
Classmates? She says? In other words, we weren't only friends. We were classmates?
でもまあしょうがないか。タクはあんまり学校来ないもんね。だからって私の存在丸ごとなかったことにするのはどうかと思う。私の名前本当に忘れちゃった？そんなことないよね。知ってるでしょ？あなたは知ってるはず。
Remy.
リミ。
そう正解。賞金50円プレゼント。
That's what? Like 5 cents?
え？
私崎畑リミです。なんだ、やっぱり覚えててくれたんだね。よかったよかった。
Why? Was it true? Was this demon girl's name really Remy? Why did that name come floating up into my heart just now? Why did I know her name? Could it be that she really was my classmate and my friend, and I had simply forgotten? No. Impossible. I'd never so much as heard the name Sakihata Remy before. It must be a fake name. It said Remy, so she made it her name. It was the same as an impersonating Khan. In the first place, other than Yua, I'd never known a 3D girl who talked to me with such familiarity. And Yua was the demon girl's subordinate. Ah, I get it. What the girl called Sakihata was enacting right now, right in front of my eyes, was the very same method Yua had used. Knowing I wasn't used to interacting with 3D girls, she meant to lead me into a trap by behaving friendly with me and tempting me. Anyhow, I neither had any recollection of my classmates' faces, nor wanted to remember them, but I could at least say I'd never seen this girl's face in the same classroom as me before. Not even once. Probably. No good. I couldn't totally rule it out. After all, when I was at school, I stayed fixed at my desk from beginning to end, either pretending to sleep while having daydreams, or staring at the surface of my desk, or pretending to read my textbooks and nothing else. I had practically no memory of my classmates' faces and names. I'd made no effort to remember them. Which was it? Was she telling the truth, or lying to me? No, the issue wasn't whether or not we were classmates. At least, the undeniable fact of the matter was that she'd committed murder.
もしかして本気で思い出せないの？さっき頭打ったせいで記憶喪失になっちゃった？
The demon girl extended a hand toward my head. I fled under my desk to begin. Excuse me. I fled under my desk again to avoid her.
たく変だよ。じゃあ大地に聞いてみて。そしたらタクも思い出せるかも。
Daichin? What was that supposed to be? A person's name or some kind of secret code? A devil's evil spell?
大地だよ、大地。三角大輔。
She knew Misumi's name? On top of that, calling him Daichin? She wouldn't say that unless they were really close.
ちょっと待ってね。
The demon girl reached for the bag, sat down next to the sofa. I didn't own a bag like that and took out a cell phone.
大地はと。よし、オッケー。はい。
After appearing to fiddle around with it for a bit, she held it out to me. When I did nothing to take it, the demon girl smiled wryly and abruptly seized my hand.
ほら、固まってないで。
She forced me to take hold of the cell phone. The demon girl's hand was soft and faintly cold. I thought it would be far colder, more icy hand, but it wasn't all that terrible. It would seem that even murderers had blood flowing through their veins. Rather, because her hand was unexpectedly feminine, my heart started beating faster. No, don't be misled. She was a demon. I won't let her tempt me. I'm not into 3D stuff. Lend me your strength, Sarah.
タク、携帯使ったことないの？電話機は耳に当てるんだよ。
Head tilted, the demon girl took a peek at my face from very close by me. Still holding my hand, she brought it up to my ear. On the way, I took a hurried look at the phone's LCD screen. The recorded name, Daichin, was being displayed there, and the phone was already in the middle of making a call. Helpless to do anything else, I put the phone against my ear and heard the sound of it ringing. At last, that sound got cut off, and in its place, I heard Misumi's voice. He didn't give his name. It sounded like he was downtown, as the bustle of his surroundings came in through the receiver. Rimi. Sakihata Rimi. Did Misumi know her? No, that itself wouldn't be much of a mystery. In any case, Misumi was a natural-born playboy. It wouldn't surprise me to hear that he'd gone out with this demon girl in the past, or that even now they were in the thick of a hot and heavy relationship. The issue at hand was whether or not the demon girl was currently my classmate.
タク、大地に出た？
The demon girl peered at me again. Damn it, your face is too close. I turned my back to her and spoke into the phone.
僕、西条。
なんだ、バクか。リミと一緒にいるのか？
Why did he accept it so easily? That almost made it sound like my being with the demon girl was an ordinary, everyday situation or something.
またリミに振り回されてるのか？大変だな、お前も。でもよ、一つだけ言っていい？お前、そろそろ自分の携帯変えよ。
Was the person on the other side of the phone really Misumi? For example, there was also the possibility that the demon girl had made it call some other person whose voice closely resembled Misumi in order to get me to fall into her trap. Maybe this some other person who sounded like Misumi was her underling, pretending to be Misumi in hopes of deceiving me. Anything and everything started to seem suspicious. I didn't know what was the truth and what was a lie. To begin with, what kind of trap was the demon girl trying to make me fall into by using such elaborate tricks? In a situation like this, wouldn't it be quickest for her to kill me directly? Or was the reason she had no choice but to trick me, even if it meant taking such a roundabout approach? No. Maybe it was a candid-to-camera type thing set up by Misumi. The girl was Misumi's girlfriend, not my classmate or whatever, and he'd sent her here on purpose to tease me. That was completely ridiculous. If such were the case, how was I supposed to explain what had happened at the scene of the staking?
タク、なんか用か？俺としては、野郎からの電話なんてあんま嬉しくねえんだけどな。
His tone of voice was perfectly identical to Misumi's. The more I heard of it, the harder it became for me to think the person on the other end of the line was anyone other than Misumi.
女の口説き方でも教えてもらいたいのか？なわけねえか。
Should I try to get down to business and start talking? I sensed a gaze at my back. That girl was watching me steadily. The tingle at the back of my neck had yet to disappear. With what manner of expression was the demon girl looking at me? I wanted to turn around and see for myself, but I was too scared to do it.
で、なんなんだ？今俺も女と一緒なんだよ。
その、
なんだよ。早く言えって。
うちのクラス。
ああ、うちのクラスがどうした？
いる？
何が？
女子。
あ？
先畑って名前の。
Becoming more and more incoherent, I somehow managed to explain myself. Misumi suddenly stopped answering. Silence. But I could hear the din of the city and other random noises, so it wasn't that we got disconnected. Why wouldn't he say anything? The next thing I heard was an enormous sigh.
さ、ゲーム脳じゃねえの？
ちょ、
What was he saying all of a sudden? On top of that, why do you have to use the language of a certain kind of totally irresponsible, groundless, anti-gamer science to label me?
それってリミのことだろ。リミの携帯でかけてきてるくせに何バカなこと言ってんだお前。わかった。お前もしかしてリミに何か指図されてんだろ。いたずらかドッキリか。じゃあリミに伝えといてくれ。お前の低レベルのドッキリに引っかかるほど俺
本当？
何が？
本当にクラスメイト？
お前な、たまにしか学校来ねえから忘れちまったか。俺はともかくお前は1年の時から同じクラスだろ。この前だって3人で一緒に映画見に行ったじゃねえか。
I couldn't comprehend what this Misumi-esque somebody was saying. The demon girl and I had been in the same class since freshman year. The three of us had gone to see a movie together a little while ago. A little while ago? When?
俺がお前とダチになったのだって。最初はリミに付き合わされたのがきっかけだったしな。
Okay, so this is going significantly longer than I had anticipated, and like I said, because I want to try and get a little bit ahead on recordings, I'm doing some shorter parts. So we're going to go ahead and end this episode here. I kind of thought, okay, this will be a fairly short scene, we'll get through it, and then I'll end the part there. It's actually sort of dragging on a little bit longer than I had anticipated. So yeah, we're going to end this part here. I will see you all next time, but until then, quick reminder that I do have a Patreon and a Discord. You can find links to those down below in the description. I do highly recommend that you join the Discord so you can stay updated on channel happenings. As for the Patreon, if you find yourself enjoying this series or any of the other series that I upload on the channel that you watch, that is the easiest and best way to help support the channel. So I do highly recommend that you join the Patreon if you want to help support the channel. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get early access to all my videos. But I will see you all next time. Like I said, until then, goodbye and farewell.